So, this is log 1 of Gensh's Infernal's thing that is not a conversion, and I've still not come up with a name for it. Let's say project. So the topic of this audio log is going to be territory. I might have discussed this in some degree already. I'm not certain, and even I don't feel like going back and rereading my old material. So I don't expect any of you to. Basically, there's going to be two different types of territory that an Infernal Exalt is going to have. You're going to have your inner world, and I can't remember if I gave a special fancy name to that or not. I probably called it Mindscape or something, fairly generic. And your inner world is going to be, what the inner world has been thus far. You've got, a central area, and then you can expand on that. You gain more land in your inner world as your essence increases. You gain the ability to, it'll probably be delegated to charms, but you'll have the ability, or probably not charms actually, but charm upgrades for a central. I don't know if I'm going to make having an inner world being a charm or just an inherent quality of the Infernal Exaltation, I'm leaning towards the second option because I just really like inherent qualities. Like spirit killing really ought to be an inherent quality of an exaltation, because seriously, they're weapons made to kill spirits, and they have to go and buy this thing in order to be able to kill spirits, and that's a little bit silly. But then again, I might decide to put it in a charm, so we'll see how that goes. But you've got your inner world, and you increasingly have the ability to purchase ways to modify that internal world. And no matter what, each Infernal is going to have a suite of demon-alikes. They're not really demons or devas or whatever you want to call them. I know that, they've grown out of the coadjutor, really. I'm not certain how much of part of the manual I would want to revise, because I think I did a decent enough job on that, I guess. But basically, you've got certain, or in order to unlock certain charms in the upper echelons of the Yozis, like Ceciline's wish-granting powers, you need to take in a certain part of the Yozi. And where the Yozi meets you, it sort of smushes together and forms a synthesis demon, which is, it acts like you, but it also acts like the Yozi in question, and it's loyal to you, but like any other demon, it has its own agenda, and it'll, do whatever. And so, you've got one, I know I called them tulpa, so you've got one tulpa which represents you and your exaltation. And no matter what, every Infernal has one free demon, and it's not necessarily going to be useful, but I'll probably throw in some charms without. Anyway, I'll probably throw in some charms that give you the ability to improve upon your tulpa, and so you might be able to use them in order to obviate the need for a mentor in some cases, and it would depend on exactly what you were trying to learn. And I think training times were being cut out in 3rd edition anyway, so that might be unnecessary, but we'll see. So you've got the tulpa in your internal world. You've got the one for your exaltation, one for each of the Yozis you've taken into yourself, and they form like your posse. And then you can wild shape your inner world once you've got the charm, and so you can have like people in your inner world, and you can build up cities, and you've got like this. It really is an inner world, and it's of course governed by your tulpa, unless you tell them to be subservient like the alchemicals and figure out some way to force it on them with, I guess with your personal primordial charms, which is going to be a default thing, although it's going to be very heavily impressed upon you that don't reinvent the wheel. Um, the adapted Yozi charms was a start, but really, they're going to be recolors everywhere. You know what? You want to have a thunderstorm charm or a snowstorm charm? Just buy the sandstorm charm and recolor it, okay? Like, it'll still count as a Ceciline charm too, but, I'm not going to make you go out and create what's already there. So you'll have your Tulpa, and they'll go out and do things, and your inner world isn't. Okay, it's an inner world. What are you going to do with an inner world? It can't do anything. Well, that's where the concept of territory comes in. Now, part of my goal from the very beginning, even though I didn't really do anything with it, was to allow any sort of Infernals playstyle that already exists to continue, because otherwise I'm telling you that you've been playing the game wrong. So I am going to explicitly allow the sort of green solars style of play. Basically you've got your Tulpa, but if you don't want to use them, you don't really have to. You can lock them up in your inner world and tell them to shut up and then just never go to your inner world again. But I think most Infernals are going to want to really get use of that. So territory is a trait that's going to increase with your essence rather than with any of the abilities, despite Infernals being ability-based. And basically, there's going to be an ability where you can buy upgrades to charms in order to increase, like, the range of an effect, so that instead of filling, the area immediately around you, or like this target over here and this target over here, no, it changes the area to fit within your territory. And within your territory, it is basically just an expanded range for effects, but there's also going to be charms where you can manifest elements of your internal world within your territory. Like, for example, a high essence example would be just, oh, hey, you've got, let's say you've got nothing but Malfeas charms, and your inner world is just it's little Malfeas. So, when you've got this high essence charm that turns your entire territory into a tiny little pocket of the demon city, and you're just walking around carrying a chunk of the demon city with you. And within that area, it's the demon city. You've got the poison miasma, you've got radiation, sickness, all the good stuff. And in particular, Infernals are going to be limited to their territory. A lot of their effects won't be able to reach outside of their territory because, essentially, they are primordials. It's all about them. They don't care about what those people over there are doing, as long as, everything within their personal space is controlled by them. They may or may not be, by default, outside of fate. However, they will have the ability to force everything within their territory outside of fate as well. Just because, there's got to be some way they've been avoiding the sidereals for this. Sidereals. It's sidereals. So there's got to be a way that they've been evading them for this long. And, my solution is, well, they can project this field that just sucks a giant chunk of creation outside of fate. Like, it's not a constant thing. It walks with them, but, they can't be found because they're simply not in creation. They are in the demon city, or they're in the endless desert, or they're in shoot, what was mine? But they're in their own little world at all times. And that's the way it should be. It's all about ego with the primordials, and that's what it should be for the primordial exalted as well, even if they are damned.